Hey, what is going on, everybody? This is Patty XRP, and with me, as always, is,
Mickey B. Fresh.
and this is
It's,
the DeFi standard. So, how's it going today, Mickey?
it's going good. It's going good.
Yeah, it's
We have
pretty.
a great video for you guys coming out. We recorded coming out later this evening. Deep dive into PolySign Part 2.
Yep, absolutely. It's a rather long video too. So, that should be out. I think I have it set for 7 o'clock, maybe. I think that's when I set it for. So, be on the lookout for that tonight. There was some Darren Moore actually put out a video that has some great clips that we utilized as well. So big shout out to him. Highly suggest you guys check out his video if you hadn't from a few days ago. There'll be a link in the description when that video gets released tonight. But for this live stream today, we'll probably go around 45 minutes. And we are going to talk about some of the updates in the Ripple versus SEC case around the security status of XRP. Additionally, Mickey ran into an interesting blog from Bitstamp that came out about how they're looking to expand services, but it has since been deleted, or at least we can't find it anymore. So we have some screenshots from that just to kind of talk about what they're getting into and maybe what we can see from exchanges, especially in the US, more in the future. So let's go ahead, Mickey. Oh, yeah, go ahead. You want to hop in?
And that was tied into. So just quickly talk about, I think that's just a quick thing to cover because it's relevant to us and Flare. So Hugo posted on Twitter, he tweeted to Bitstamp, one of the executives there. It was a pleasure meeting with you in Slovenia. And saying, and then he tagged Bitstamp and GateHub. And then the person from Bitstamp said back to him, we're looking forward to what Flare's building and seeing how other services, and I forgot what the exact tweet says.
Yeah,
So
so it's right here, Mickey.
there you go.
Yeah, Hugo said, bye Slovenia. He went for a trip there. Great things are happening in crypto there. Thank you for your time, Bitstamp and GateHub. Can't wait to come back. And I will butcher this man's name really bad, so I'm not going to say it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was an absolute pleasure. Looking forward to the Flare mainnet and other exciting developments you are planning. So yeah, you want to touch on that a little bit, Mickey, with like GateHub and
Yes.
Bitstamp?
So can you bring up the other screenshots for the Bitstamp? And I'll
Yes,
talk
let's
about it.
go
Yes.
to the
So
beginning. We can go through
so the
these.
fact that Hugo
Cool.
went there face-to-face meeting with Bitstamp and GateHub, I think that those two exchanges are very important because they're the only two official, fully integrated XRP ledger gateways, right? So they're fully integrated into the ledger. And they are the idea. I mean, Bitstamp itself is the ideal agent. I mean, literally, because they're on the ledger. Zum Wallet, everything uses Bitstamp, and they're one of the oldest. Arthur Brito used to be on the board of Bitstamp. Chris Larson invested in GateHub. So there's also not many other options in New York for exchanges besides Coinbase and Bitstamp, and Coinbase didn't support. So every Wall Street or any um, family office, anything who was high net worth in Wall Street and you were in the state of New York, your only option if you were putting on exchange was really Bitstamp
Yep.
or I guess institutional maybe providers.
Yeah, so we can touch on this first screenshot you got here, Mickey. So they're going to have an increased focus on digital asset innovation. They have a world-class NASDAQ matching engine power or I guess it powers its exchange. And this ensures optimal trading speed in handling large orders without destabilizing the price for its over 4 million investors, traders, and institutional customers worldwide. And moving on, that Bitstamp is committed to working with top US financial companies like NASDAQ and Silvergate Bank to build the best market infrastructure, along with exploring expanding its institutional custody options and adding a regulated derivatives offering. So that's something that gets me very excited. And just so people know, so like a derivative in itself is a security because it's an investment contract surrounding some kind of underlying asset. It doesn't make the asset that's the underlying part of that derivative. It doesn't mean that that's a security, but the derivative itself is an investment contract. Normally, you're like entering into some kind of agreement with another party that says, okay, if the price does this, I'll purchase at this price, things like that. That's kind of a basic overview. But like, even if it's just, derivatives via crypto exchange, that's something that
What
makes me
about
really excited.
a futures
Yeah,
contracts?
futures is the same. Yeah, futures a derivative. So you could have options contract, futures
Okay.
contracts, credit default swaps, interest rate swaps, asset swaps. There's kind of like a ton. And that's why the derivatives market is so big. It's because all the you can make as many derivatives contracts as you want, and they're all deriving from some other asset's value. So that's kind of where the word derivative comes from. Derives from another
Mm.
asset's value. So yeah, that's something that makes me excited because, like, all right, so like, let's
We're
say
missing that in the crypto markets. Credit, and
exactly.
derivatives.
Yeah, derivatives is a big thing because I mean, let's say you're participating in DeFi on Flare Network and you're worried about impermanent loss in a liquidity pool. Well, you could say, okay, if the price 5x's while I'm in this liquidity pool, that's a loss that I'm not comfortable with, or like that missed opportunity rather. And basically you could go and buy a something called a call option with a price that's like at the point where you would be uncomfortable with it to kind of hedge if the price went up a bunch, and you could make money off the derivative to kind of counteract any impermanent loss that occurred. We'll get into that more in like dedicated videos, but I just kind of wanted to throw out a use case of them there. We've kind of been working on looking into impermanent loss and stuff like that in regards to Flare Finance's liquidity pools. So hopefully should have a video on that for you guys soon too. But yeah, moving on. Let's see. So they said we intend to be a leader in the most competitive financial market in the world, the US. So they're very dedicated to building out their service offering within the United States. The potential upside for new retail and institutional investors in the US is astronomical. And as one of the top 3 global exchanges, we are seeing incredible customer adoption. The triple digit growth we've seen in the US in 2021 has shown us that Americans want access to an exchange like ours. In addition, Bitstamp is launching a full scale US marketing campaign today to raise Bitstamp's profile and to educate more retail investors on the benefits of digital assets. So, we see like what are some of the big exchanges in the US, like Coinbase, Bitstamp, Binance US. They're all seeming like they're
Tracking.
gearing up. Yeah, a lot more like marketing wise. Like the amount of what is it, crypto ads around Coinbase that I've seen since they
Mm-hmm.
IPO'd is huge. And you got to think that a lot of these other exchanges that saw, the amount of money that Coinbase's IPO was able to raise gets them very interested in doing the same thing themselves.
Mm-hmm. We're starting to see the market evolve a little bit. There's going to be a couple big crypto exchanges, but they're all going to add services that are going to integrate with the DeFi world. And that's where you have your BlockFis, your Celsiuses too, your Nexos, and kind of converging with then these exchanges that really need to then, they'll just be like tier one exchanges. I feel like we'll have, Coinbase and Bitstamp are up there, and they'll IPO probably too.
Yeah. And then going further into this since deleted blog, they said on this institutional side, Bitstamp working with Silvergate Bank as the first exchange to launch SEN Leverage, a product that allows institutional customers to trade any asset on platform with leverage collateralized by Bitcoin or US dollars. So that's definitely very interesting that they're starting to allow
DeFi.
people to get, yeah, some leverage on their trades using Bitcoin and USD. And then additionally, so this is pretty interesting to me because it shows like, when people make the argument like, oh, the US isn't going to get left behind, if they don't get their act in order. Well, they say Bitstamp's total AUM is over $11 billion and the US only contributes 11% of that. So I think this just kind of goes to show like, how global cryptocurrency actually is. And a lot of the market share happens outside of the US. So I find that, very interesting. And Bitstamp's also one of the top 5 globally for daily trading volumes among regulated exchanges. So that kind of gives you an idea of scale there.
And then one of the oldest too.
Yeah, I mean, I remember they were the first exchange when I got into crypto that I tried to sign up with, but since there was so much, and they had a totally different like back end look and everything at the time, but there were so many people trying to get into crypto in 2017 that it was like like I think it took me 2 weeks to get in. So kind of interesting to see how that's changed. When I made a new account with them like in the last year or so, it was super fast and easy. And also to bring up with Bitstamp in relation to the Spark token, we see like how Mickey was bringing up the connection with Hugo, going to meet with them. They also put out a tweet a while ago asking what assets in this grouping that they had in their poll on Twitter, and Spark was like by far the most selected one. So I'm really hoping that we're going to see Bitstamp offer Spark when the Flare network
No,
launches.
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
I
pretty
would
much
put
thinking guarantee that.
yeah, I mean, aside
I have
from we
some on
can't
Bitstamp I
guarantee it.
left, so better. I hope so.
Yeah,
Um,
I like
yeah.
the exchange a lot,
One
so
thing I will say is they have a very bland app. They need to
yeah.
upgrade their mobile app. So I think they're in the process of, I know that was somewhere in there. Maybe I didn't screenshot it, but I think they're going to overhaul their app and even probably the desktop version, because it is just kind of just bland compared to some of the other apps that are out there mobile
Yeah,
wise.
absolutely. And then let's see, I kinda wanna check out the chat here a little bit just since I haven't been able to look at
And
it.
they have a
Um
rigorous like sign on process though. That's annoying. But besides that,
Yeah, and I mean, if even though some of these are rigorous, at least that they're going to be compliant, and hopefully they'll be able to withstand any kind of new regulations going out there. So while that
Mhm.
can be a pain, it can be a good
Well,
sign for sure.
one thing that's kind of cool with Bitstamp though that you can do, like on Zum, you could do Bitcoin like IOUs, and you could actually cash those out to Bitstamp if you have an account. It's kind of cool with some of the things that you could do using the Zum app with a Bitstamp account, because the Bitstamp account allows you the gateway access to cash out the USD trading on the XRP Ledger DEX. So um, there's definitely a interesting dynamic there that doesn't exist anywhere else.
Absolutely.
That's pretty cool.
So I saw up here. Okay, this is from Adam Cobb. He was asking, how do we find out which signal providers are
Yeah,
participating in every price data time series to ensure
they
they
have
and
to all,
do they? Is that a requirement for sure?
every single one, because every round they pick. It's randomly selected, the FTSO, of what price feed they have to vote on. So they have to provide a price for every one of them, and then the FTSO just randomly picks one of the price feeds that round, and then the accuracy is based on that price feed. So
Yeah.
they have to be accurate and every one. And I'm going to say this one more time again. It's not just pulling a price feed from an exchange, because it's again the feed is to Spark. They need to come up with, I believe, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So you have to combine. We're not going to have algo trading against Spark anywhere. So they have to combine the algo to US and the Spark to US and come up with that.
Yep. And I just want to add, Adam. So a lot of the signal providers on their websites have already started posting
Mhm.
what are they called? Their signals, like their price data already. So you can go and kind of see what they have out there. They should have everything that's listed on Flare Network's site as the starting time time series data that they need to put through. So I know like I've seen FTSO EU and AU both have had that up. So that's one thing you can start looking into and kind of comparing it to some other like areas that are giving prices all the time and just seeing what that looks like to help you kind of decide. And I will add, if you guys didn't see on the DeFi Standard website, we have a signal providers page with all the signal providers that we know of listed, and then also just some considerations for you to kind of think about when you're deciding which signal provider you want to go with. I'd say it's a little too early for us to dive too deep into that. I just kind of wanted to give a base with that post, because we don't necessarily know like what all their service offerings are going to be. Like what if these signal providers offer you specific deals based on certain stuff, which may not happen until later in the Flare Network's life cycle. But also, they could, maybe offer you some kind of like program that helps you like manage your assets. I don't, I'm just spitballing here. They can get creative in what they want to do. They also can offer you maybe NFTs or something for
Maybe
delegating
it's.
your F asset detachable votes. So,
Mhm.
yeah, we just don't know all that stuff yet.
Yeah, so it is to USD. So it's Bitcoin Cash is the only added one in there. Excellent. Yeah. So those are the price feeds they pull in the USD. Um,
Yeah. And
mhm.
then let's see, I'm looking to see if we have any other specific questions before we kind of touch on some of the Ripple SEC case. So, let's see. Yeah, we'll move on to that. Let me get this pulled up on the display capture. I see a nice back end. All right, cool. So we'll go kind of through what John Deaton's saying, and then actually let's pull up this document first because there's some um, good information in here. So the judge ruled on multiple different things. So it says basically the SEC filed a discovery motion requesting the court issue an order permitting the SEC to notice 6 additional depositions, and the motion is granted in part and denied in part. Additionally, the SEC has been granted a 60-day extension on the discovery process. Now, what I will say about that, it's not the end of the world. We saw Jeremy Hogan, everybody knows who he is at this point. He said it's pretty common that he's seen extensions be granted. Also, we know that one of the SEC's arguments against John Deaton getting in, the XRP holders that he represents getting involved in the case was that it would extend discovery. So I think the fact that Judge Netburn,
Mhm.
passing that for the SEC makes it more likely that Deaton will be allowed to intervene. He'll have a successful motion to intervene. So I think that brings in a lot more dynamics into the case and how it evolves. Also, none of this means that a settlement couldn't happen any day. It's just saying that as far as like the timeline for the case and the discovery is extended. But like what we've kind of learned from listening to the lawyers giving their thoughts on this is that there's other people in the background working on settlement like all the time, while the people that have to go through with defending the case and prosecuting it, they have to focus on their part. So, it's a rather big effort on both sides. And I don't know, do you want to add anything there, Mickey, before we keep going through this?
Yeah, I just think there's no reason to overreact with this thing. I saw like the collective on Twitter. I know people get emotional, but it doesn't change anything. I mean, the direction of leverage like that Ripple still has um won multiple discovery decisions already, and the one being that the judge threw out the SEC's attempts to go after um, those documents that the lawyers gave Ripple in the early days to try to prove. So for the fair notice to try to stop that, Ripple won that, so they got denied. So Ripple's got a lot of wins here, to where the point where this extension isn't a win. It doesn't change anything on the fact of the case changing direction. And I think that I just saw a lot on Twitter. I read that people took it as like a negative, you know, but I don't see it as a negative. I just see it as a delay, which I guess could be a negative. But I don't see it. It's that Ripple lost anything or the tide has turned. Nothing like that. I mean, now we get Deaton guaranteed to be in there, and they got to give up those documents still. So I mean, those things are still happening, and they're still never going to win. They're never going to be able to win on calling XRP a digital security. Deaton's already said the Telegram case. Graham was deemed not a digital security, and they were, totally lost the case. And that was case law. So people need to relax. There's no chance that that XRP is ever deemed a digital security that's out there right now. That's just like not going to happen. It's not like really a worry.
Well,
And
I will
how can that
oh,
even
go ahead.
possibly happen? Go ahead. No, you go.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll add in like I think people are more upset as from a pocket thing because they're
Uh,
worried. Oh, is XRP gonna miss the bull run? Basically, well, here would be my take on that. Essentially, is the XRP price dropped to 17 cents at the bottom after the SEC case in January. Definitely oversold, but then, it kind of rebounded into the 20-cent range. And then we had the kind of like XRP pump group thing happen that sent it up to what, like 70 cents or so,
Hmm.
retraced back down, I want to say into the 40s, maybe the 50s. So, or 50 cents, but yeah. And if XRP, was going to miss the bull run in totality, in my opinion, not financial advice, that it would have never had the pump to $2. If the market was so worried about this case and the US's effect on the XRP market, then it would have never gone back up to $2. And in reality, XRP topped out at $2 because the broader market in Bitcoin started faltering a little bit and running out of gas. So, yes, it missed some of that beginning part of the bull run. Then, as more facts in the case came out, and people realize this isn't as bad as it looked when the case first dropped. I think the sentiment has changed. We've seen many like really large YouTubers. I'm talking about like 500K plus subscribers and people like that cover crypto in general. They have hopped on the XRP bandwagon. So I think it has more to do with just general market sentiment. And if Bitcoin starts picking back up again and the rest of the market is moving up, then I would have to think at this point that XRP is going to do what the rest of the market does, which, this is another point against the SEC's case is that XRP has been moving with the market. It's not sitting here moving with every ebb and flow in this case. It's generally the price has been dictated by what the rest of the crypto market is doing. And also, if you're worried about, this adds another 60 days on to the completion of the case. Well, the fact still stands that over 90% of the SEC's cases end in settlement. So that's a huge thing going for the case not taking the full time and actually going to court. I can't imagine the SEC actually wants this case to go to court. So that's
I
another
think a
thing.
fair,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, you get the nail on the head right there. The fair notice is still the biggest thing. I mean, we're waiting on that. That is going to really be the
Yes.
deciding factor of if there's going to be a settlement in the near future. Because if she does not strike the fair notice, I think it's just a wrap right there, and we'll see a settlement shortly after. I can't see how the SEC could even risk not settling in that situation.
Yeah,
Um,
and let's touch on that. And so Judge Netburn commented on this in this ruling that she put out. And you may disagree with her, giving the extension, but I think overall she's been relatively fair. She's given granted motions on both sides. It doesn't seem like she's one-sided. And same with Judge Torres. So I mean, they haven't done anything that gives me cause for concern. But she said. Finally, the SEC's request to compel production of documents related to Ripple's lobbying efforts is denied, as discussed in the court's earlier opinion and order denying access to Ripple's privileged communications. Ripple's fair notice defense centers on the activities of the SEC, not on its own behaviors. So that is huge. So going forward, Ripple focuses on the SEC's failure to provide fair notice to the market about the commission's state of mind as to whether XRP qualified as a security. It is not clear that such a defense even requires that a defendant act in good faith. Um, in the same vein, Ripple's lobbying efforts regarding the status of XRP are not relevant, and any relevancy argument is outweighed by the burden of production so ordered. So, Judge Netburn basically came out
wow.
and said this has to do, the fair defense notice has nothing to do with Ripple. So if the SEC was sitting there for, 8 years and they, let's say in 2019, they have documents saying, oh, yeah, we don't really know if XRP is a security. Well, that's pretty damning to the fair notice defense because, they're trying to say for all these years that Ripple should have known that it was a security. And Netburn said it doesn't matter what Ripple's lawyers told them or any of that. It all has to do with what the SEC was thinking. And, if you guys came to this conclusion way too late, that Ripple never received any kind of fair notice because they are allowed to operate in the way they were for 8 years. So I think that's like, I mean, this to me is an extremely positive thing. You know, it just kind of, that's
I
why I'm kind
agree.
of surprised
Mhm.
at people being upset. Maybe it's just on the
It's
face
an
of it, upset
emotional collective
reaction. Yeah, it just happens. But
social media, emotional collective reaction.
to me, this should get
Just
people excited. That's kind of
yeah.
my point here. Um,
Uh yeah, I agree, Patty. This is new. I didn't see this until you mentioned it to me prior, but just you reading that, that's news to me. And I'm excited from that. Basically, that's awesome. I mean, she's basically saying, hey, she's giving them Ripple the ability to say, hey, I'm okaying with the fair notice here. If Judge Net, so if Netburn is like mentioning the fair notice thing here, so whatever comes out of those documents, right, on those communications shows anything that they saw XRP like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and there's going to be so many documents. All they need is just something to show that XRP was similar, or it doesn't have to say, oh, we think XRP is not a security. It just has to be something that Ripple's team could argue and say, hey, this is just like Ethereum and Bitcoin, like all the others. They don't say anywhere here that it is a security. Then the fair notice is going to be approved, and that's it. It's game over then. I mean, that's where we're at here. So, the 60-day delay is, for discovery, but this could be just over in a matter of a couple of days anytime.
Yep, absolutely.
And should we touch on people are asking like, oh, well, what does this have to do with FXRP minting now with the delay? I see a lot of those questions. It has nothing to do with it, except, on strategies. And minting FXRP is not going to happen until at least 60 days after the Flare network goes live. So, I mean, I don't know if it really affects it, but I saw a lot of talk of that.
So here's what I think it affects. Like, let's say Flare Network goes live, it launches, and you're sitting there with a big bag of XRP, and you're like, well, this case is ongoing. I don't necessarily know if I should sell any of my XRP right now, since it hasn't really gone through that parabolic price rise that many of the cryptos have. Even though it has gone up a lot from where it was at the start of the year, I think it's still up like 4x from year to date numbers. But do I sell some of that for Spark and risk the SEC case? Getting ironed out in the meantime, that's kind of the big decision for me. And that's something I will be wrestling with. And it's probably going to have to end up being a decision I make in the moment, just based on a collective, look at all the information out there and how likely I think the SEC case could get settled while I have that trade going on. Because the thing with F assets not being minted until later, that means that, your primary way to earn Spark via yield is going to be through FTSO delegation rather than minting F assets as well. So that's kind of the big question for me. And it's definitely a tough one. And I think my mind is going to evolve on that as we get closer and closer to a launch date. But yeah.
I agree. No, I agree. So I have the same theory, same strategy.
Yeah. And so, okay, let's take a couple of questions. Flare community just hopped in here. Nice.
Hey, what's
Thanks for
going on,
joining.
Flare community?
Hope your ACL is getting better. That's tough. But so let's see. Okay, Adam Cobb said, "Will vote delegation for Spark commence immediately upon the Flare network launch?" Yes. I did see maybe a comment or tweet at me the other day that somebody didn't think it was going to happen at launch, but that I think they were misconstruing that with the minting of F assets. One of the reasons it's delayed is they want to get the what is it, the spark price volatility to die down, so to make the collateral management easier and more in line with like a normal market you would see. And then also they want everybody to get like practice with the FTSO signals that they're sending. So that'll give them time to where, like, after 8 weeks or so, whatever the time frame ends up being, that the signal provider should have it pretty ironed out what they're trying to do, what they're, how they're pulling the data, how they're smoothing it out and sending it to the FTSO. So like one of the things is, like, let's say you can mint F assets on day one, but all of a sudden the price peg with the FTSO is way out of whack because you're trying to do it all at once. This kind of, you know, helps to ease into it, you know.
And it's also a Spark dependent application, so it's not. It was never really probably intended. It's not part of the like protocol layer.
Yeah,
I
it's a
mean, it
good point.
is the FTSO is, but the actual Spark dependent application. This is an application, and they also have the state connector system. So you got to make sure that's all up and running to connect to all the other networks that DF assets are going to be minted from. You have to have the agents in place. You have to have all the stakeholders ready. I mean, so it's not something that I really think ever was intended to launch with the launch of Flare Network. I always think it was planned to come afterwards. I mean, it's going to be a governance vote. So it's still going to come down to a governance vote, and there's going to have to be a minimum voter turnout. So that's another thing with Spark holders.
Yeah.
You got to make sure people vote. Kava had that problem where there wasn't enough voting, so people weren't participating, and then it doesn't go live. So we'll have to see what the minimum voting will be, but that's really what will determine if it is. Even then, it could be later.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just to give everyone, insight into what the potential is here, because it could be later. So,
yeah, and let's see. Okay, so I see people. Okay, somebody's asking, why don't you put people at ease with telling them your thoughts on the price of Spark? That will give the people that wants to do FXRP more hope. So, I mean, we have commented this on in the past, but it's like, you know, my opinion, I'm sure Mickey's is going to change over time. There's a lot of things that go into it. So like what I think right now may not be as applicable, but in general, I think the
it's
IOUs are overpriced and Spark will trade below those at some point in the first couple of weeks. I don't know exact dates. Like,
I
is
have
it
an
going to
opinion
drop
on
out the
this.
gate? Yeah, you go ahead. I think it's going to be lower than the IOUs, but I want to hear what you have to say.
I think it has to more. It's not about the price itself. It's the psychological. How is the community and going to react, and how are they going to react to everything more than how is the price going to react to the community? How many people are going to comprehend that this asset they were given, they're going to be able to earn risk-free yield of it every day, compounding at no risk, earning more Spark? How many people are going to realize that in the community? How much are people going to just get it and then just, not know what it is and just dump it and sell it? Or they're going to have people that are going to be fearful and they create fear in this. And we see misinformation going around already today in the community from certain select people that I will not name. So it really depends on how the community reacts to the airdrop and understands what it means to get that airdrop, and if you get yield with it. So if I sell it, I lose that yield. So do they understand I'm losing yield now at no risk for an asset I just got, or do they not? That's really what I think. And as we get closer, I think as we see the psychological, hype or underhype or skepticism of the community, I think we'll have a better idea if there's bigger announcements from other applications being built. But that's really why I say that it's impossible to judge the price. It should be, I think that it should be, pretty solid. I don't see this thing being like pennies, Patty.
Well, no, I don't think below 10 cents, but I'm probably thinking a bottom out around 20 or 25 cents right now. But, how fat
How about
well, let me add.
institutions? The
Well,
VC is going to come in.
Well, that's the thing though. If they think that the price is going to dump, then they're going to wait for that dump. And, there's a lot of things going on that makes this very difficult to tell. I just think overall that with the scale of this airdrop and how difficult it kind of is to learn about Flare when it's not live yet, I think once it's live, people will start understanding it a lot more, that there's just going to be a lot of people selling. Um, and then we have the whole tax issue that's still going on in the community around this. And I will say there's going to be information coming from Flare on that. Hugo has said as much publicly. So we're going to have the exact information on how it works. So, plan for the worst, but just keep your mind open and don't like lock yourself into doing anything yet, as there's going to be more information that comes out. So that's just one
And be
thing I want to
careful of
say.
so-called experts.
Yeah, it's just Like people will be like, "Oh, why don't you just say what it's going to be?" Well, I don't want to say what I think it's going to be and that ends up being wrong and then somebody makes a decision off something I said because they think I know something. You know what I
And to
mean?
be
To me
honest,
it's just not responsible because
it's not.
yes, there's a lot of people that and we're in the same boat. We don't know exactly how it's going to work yet. We're hoping for the best, but we just can't put out information that we don't necessarily know at this time.
Another thing here is honestly, it's not even really relevant.
Yeah, I mean that's true to
If
me
you're
too,
going to participate in the network, unless you're looking to buy more, whatever the price is irrelevant. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me unless you're going to buy more and you want it to dip. You're going to sit there. You're going to keep compounding it. And as all these other applications go live, you're going to put your money to work. The problem is that so many people are so focused on the exchanges and going to the moon, but that's not what this network is about. It's about creating passive income and setting yourself up. And then if capital appreciation comes as more people come into the network and more things are built, you already now have accumulated, compounded assets that you didn't even pay, you didn't even invest in. And you're going to get Y flare a month later by building up more Spark. So like the focus of the price, I don't think anyone needs to have their mind at ease, because what are you easing? You're getting it for free, number one. And number two, you're getting free yield with it at no risk. And then you're getting applications built that you're going to be able to put that asset to work. So I think it's the mindset of people looking at it the wrong way. So I don't think there's a reason to make a price prediction.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason that, you've put
Unless
out
you're
several.
buying.
Yeah. So,
That's
okay,
different.
I do want to touch on one other point around that just because I think it's important and people may not know this. So, let me get I'm going to pull up coin market cap. So, at launch, roughly, this is going to be dependent on what Flare says is the total amount of Spark unclaimed. And the last claim date was on the 11th. I saw a
Ooh,
tweet saying they should have that information out this week. I also think we're
nice.
going to start seeing a lot more information from them because Hugo told us in the AMA there were several blogs that they had due. I think they've just been so busy getting the network finalized and everything that they've kind of just been letting the documentation go to the wayside. But so if we look at coin market cap here, right now I think roughly around 8.5 billion to 9 billion Spark will be able to be actively traded on the first day. And essentially, if Spark was at $1 then and you only counted the circulating supply as what's being traded right then, not necessarily like what the foundation has or what's locked in these rewards pools that's going to come out of them, then you would be talking about at $1, which is still below the BitTrue IOU price, I believe, still, unless it's fallen below $1. Um, Flare would be one of the top 20 assets in crypto right out the gate. So, whether you think that's a justifiable, um, you know, market cap for Flare when it's brand new and hasn't been running before, that's kind of up to you. I just want people to note that there is a large supply and thus like market cap is while I don't like it necessarily, it is a big valuation for people in the crypto space that they use. And we got to go with like what people are using. Even if the Spark was at 50 cents, it'd still be around a top 25 asset. So I just want people to take that in mind that there is a large supply of Spark. It's similar to XRP in that vein. And with it launching on day one, it's just like, do you think that it's going to be worth that much? So that's kind of what a
Well,
lot of my looking at it centers around in similar networks and how they launched.
can I throw something out
Yeah,
there too
definitely.
with this? So so I did a little digging into like Algorand just because they were going to be on the network, but there was some interesting things about how their initial launch happened and how their Flare's doing things different, but they have a similar setup. So one thing that is different with Flare is the foundation cannot utilize their Spark in any way. They can't sell it on the open market. They can't use it in the FTSO. They can't use it in the Spark collateral system. They can't use it at all. And Flare doesn't have any VC investors who have tokens that they're going to be able to sell at like a vesting period every month, right? There's nobody like that. They did raise funds, but I highly doubt that Flare sold tokens that in a situation that's like right now with the SEC, that the VCs are going to sell at launch or every month to flood the market. Now, Algorand, their foundation is able to stake, which takes away from the users, and rewards, and they were able to sell onto the market every month a certain amount if the price went up, just went upwards. And it really took a hitting, it really was a negative impact on the price of algo after it launched for the community, because that you have the foundation taking the staking rewards, you have these VC investors dumping onto the market to get their returns, and now Flare doesn't have any of that. So we don't have to worry about somebody dumping on the secondary market. We don't have to worry about the foundation taking our rewards. So I think it's just important to note that Hugo and the team designed this around in a way so there's no external factors that are going to negatively impact the price. If anything, they need to be accumulating if they want to be agents and participate in that collateral system. So you're going to have a demand for Spark. Where Algo, there's no demand for it in that way. So I just think those are important things of how the price could be affected. There's nobody to dump on the market.
Yeah, and they do have 2 months essentially. Like, we don't know the exact date the F asset system will go live because it's going to be
Yeah.
done via governance vote, but they do have 2 months to accumulate that spark. We also know that the deflayer snapshot is going to be 30 days after launch. So, I would be surprised, not financial advice, but if the spark price isn't rising near and around that date. Also, as far as what you think it'll do after, I think you could at least look to the XRP snapshot for getting the Spark airdrop to kind of get an idea. It actually started dumping before the snapshot happened, but I assume that's traders that kind of felt like, the price was going to get a
Yeah,
bump of people buying in. Let me sell right before, because that's before people would expect, because now I'm not getting the snapshot.
exactly.
But it'll be very
Let me
interesting. Yeah.
let me just take that. Say one more thing though.
Yeah.
There is the FTSO inflation, which is 28 million Spark a day, but those 28 million Spark a day only to go directly to those who are participating in the FTSO. So they auto compound. So as soon as you receive it, it's auto delegating back. So you have to manually remove it and then take it to the secondary market to sell it. So it doesn't just enter the secondary market. So that's why it's going to be a lot of confusion, and there'll be misinformation in the beginning saying, oh, there's inflation. Oh, it wasn't the supply going upward, but it's going directly into the hands and rewarding those who are participating automatically and not touching the secondary market unless they move it there. But then you're selling something that's compounding that yield. So I mean, most people are going to be not likely to sell once you get involved in the delegating. And then when you can utilize the token while it's delegating too, the FTSO vote. So I just think it has a unique feature to it that makes it different from other assets. Like I saw some people on Twitter saying, oh, Spark's 100% speculative and it's dependent on Ripple. And I'm like,
It
no,
has nothing to do with
actually,
Ripple.
it's actually not speculative because it's not all dependent on speculation. It actually has utility right out the gate. It's that delegating of the vote that creates storage demand. I'm going to sell something that has yield attached to it, that I have no risk, and then I could go use it too. So we just got to weed out the people that don't understand that, and then it will get into the hands of strong. So we transfer the value into the hands of the people that are going to participate and out of the hands of the people who aren't. So that process will take place by the first 8 weeks.
Yep. And so we're at 45 minutes in, so we're going to wrap up here shortly, but I do want to address a few things that people look confused about real quick. When you mint, like, let's say XRP into FXRP, basically you deliver your XRP to a set of agents, then you will have FXRP minted by the F asset system and delivered to your Spark address or your Flare address rather, on the Flare network, and you will have that. The fee is going to be variable. It's going to be based on supply and demand. Hugo said that the fee will probably be lower than the 5% one that they were going to have as a fixed fee originally. So that has changed. And then also, if you want to go back from FXRP to XRP or any F asset back to the native token, then all you do is you bring the FXRP back to the F asset system. You pay, I want to say it's a 0.1% fee of that total value you're returning. and that is paid in Spark, not XRP. So then you'll get your XRP back on the XRP ledger side of things, and the FXRP you brought back is burnt and no longer in existence. And then, yeah, and so any F asset is fully redeemable for the underlying asset. And let's see if there was one other thing. Oh yeah, and people asking about yield for either delegating your votes or minting F assets. It's highly variable. So I cannot tell
No
you what a yield
numbers.
is. Like I did a video on how it would work. So go back and check those videos out, and then you can get an idea. But obviously, it's all going to be dependent on what kind of inputs you're putting in, how much participation do you expect, how many F assets are you expecting to be minted, how quickly are those going to grow or how slowly they're going to grow in totality. What is your asset that you hold? Is it moving up in price? Is it moving up or down in price compared to other assets? There's just so many factors that go into it, and it's impossible to tell you. You're just going to have to see when the network goes live what that's looking like. And as more people participate, those layer one rewards are going to go down. But we have Flare Finance and Trustline, they're offering yield options. There's going to be other protocols built on top as dApps that allow you for other yield offerings as like the rewards from the layer one participation start to decrease. So
That's a good way to explain it, Patty. So these F assets and Spark come with native layer one rewards, right? Yield. And then
yes.
you have the ability to simultaneously earn, layer two or DApp rewards somewhere else. And that's, a huge value proposition. You can't get that on any other network. I just have not seen anything remotely close to that. Like even like Algo, you get, a whopping 6%. That's it. I mean, it's not that much. The way Flare team designed this is brilliant. And can I just throw in one little tidbit before we go? Because I thought this was really fascinating.
Yeah.
So Vitalik Buterin went on the Uniswap governance forum and made a proposal to remove Chainlink as the oracle and replace it with the Uni token as the token to handle the oracles there, because he's saying that the Uni token has more value and it's better to handle the USD prices or whatnot from Uniswap than Chainlink, right? And he said that certain situations, oracles need to have different setups. Like Chainlink's good at doing like the ERC20s, but when it comes to like ETH USD price, he said that Uniswap, and there was this whole thread. My point here is there was a thread of like, Chainlink God and all them like arguing, debating the best oracle system and all that. And it's like, not one person mentioned Flare, but Vitalik's always been, if you look at like what his answer to solve it was, is to create a decentralized oracle system that rewards the good behavior of price feeds. And Flare built this into layer one. And that's something they're fighting over there, trying to figure out how do you do these decentralized exchange and get all the price feeds in. Yeah, not a problem on Flare. It's built right into the network. So all the other dApps don't have to have these governance discussions and all this. It's right there. So that's the importance of what they built that avoids that whole oracle problem, the debate, and how to do it. So that's what you're participating in when you delegate the vote. And this is built into the network at its heart because there is no proof of stake and there is no proof of work. So that's why the network is a breakthrough design.
Yep.
So
Cool.
yeah, I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, and I guess we'll wrap it up here. We're starting to get some network issues on my end. So I just want to say thank you, JK, Nate, and Craig for your guys' super chats. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so I'm Patty XRP. And
wait. Oh, check out our video tonight.
Oh yeah,
Polysign
tonight.
deep dive part 2.